for the Women's Prize reaction vid. Where is this video? Where is it appearing? Where is it appearing? There we go. Women's Prize non-fiction reaction. Right, I'm covering up. There we go. Oh, she's got to shut her up. I'm covering up the comments just because I haven't seen it yet. There's nobody here yet, so that's fine. I can stop talking. Okay, I want to get the YouTube video up as well. And it's Women's Prize announcing the 2025. It's only have 532 views. Right. I can see there are now people arriving. Welcome. We've still got 3 minutes until 5 o'clock, but I'm very excited. So I have covered up the comments just so that no one can sort of spoil anything. I don't feel as spoiled by this one that if this was the Women's Prize for Fiction, oh, I'd be going so frightened. Hello, Birgit. I can see when people are commenting on my phone, but I have covered it up on there. Yeah, so this is for the Women's Prize for non-fiction. God, I'm so used to muscle memory of saying Women's Prize for Fiction. Women's Prize for non-fiction long list that got announced this morning. So we've still got 2 minutes until the video is supposed to go live. Big bit of fluff in my mouth. So we'll just chat, I think. I wonder if this cup of tea I've made, I think the oat milk's too far gone. I often drink oat milk past its sell-by date because I think, well, what's in it? What's going to make me unwell? But this one feels a little bit on the... Oh, similarly, though, it could be that I had 2 massive spoonfuls of sunshine kraut before I started this video because I was really hungry. And they've got sort of like an unusual taste in my mouth, maybe. So maybe that's why I'm thinking it tastes funny. Couple more minutes, guys. I can't even interact with you because I don't think anyone said anything apart from Birgit. Oh, a couple of people have said hello. I'm covering it back up though. But yeah, I guess until the video goes, a lot of people will be going, oh, 5 o'clock, that's when Lauren's going live. So we'll just give it a few more moments. But I hope you've all had a lovely Wednesday. It's been a long day at work. David and I are off to choir tonight. We're quite excited about choir tonight because it's a run through night. So it means that we just sing all of our songs that we've learned from start to finish, and I do very well at that. Hello, hi Jade, hi Amanda. 11 a.m. there. Wow. So yeah, normally that's what we'll be doing after this. David's going to disappear shortly, and make me a big bowl of pasta to eat, which I'm looking forward to it. G says, you're making me desperate for a cup of tea. I've got a books in my bag cup of tea. This is a lovely sized mug, you know. It's very sort of slight. I still don't know if that's quite right. Well done, Jennifer. Cool live. Yeah, so I was looking at the lives. The last time I did a live was when we did, I had got 17,000 subscribers. And I think it must have been in November last year because there's a few bits of Christmas out, but not loads of Christmas out. I couldn't see a date, I could just see the thumbnail. So yeah, it's been a while. Right, it is now 5 o'clock, so welcome to my reaction to the Women's Prize for non-fiction long list, which is a list, I believe, of 16 books, if it's the same as the fiction prize, 16 books that have been published by women in the past year and are non-fiction books. So I've been an avid follower of the Women's Prize for Fiction for many, many years. I remember first watching Grace Dent, who was a judge on it one year, talking about it on Sunday Brunch. This was like when I was living with my parents, so way before BookTube happened for me. And last year, the Women's Prize for Non-Fiction was launched. And I definitely read lots more fiction than I do non-fiction, so this is always going to be a slightly different prize for me. What I will say is that lots of people are saying lovely hellos. Hi, Charlie. I bet you're excited, Charlie. I have covered up the comments on the big screen so that in case anyone says, oh, I can't believe blah, blah, blah was on there before I go and find them out. So, yeah. So the long list was announced at 8 o'clock this morning, which is lovely, however, is also the time I start work. So I have avoided the socials all day. I went on YouTube earlier and saw that Eric had done a reaction and had a pile of books that were obviously the Women's Prize for non-fiction long list, and I went, "Rah!" So I didn't see any of them. I just saw spines and I didn't see what any of them were, so I've avoided very well. So shortly I'm going to watch the YouTube video, but I just thought I would talk through my thoughts on the prize and stuff, and then we can discover the books together, or whether or not you already know the long list, or whether or not you've already put your library reservations on or whatever. So this is the Women's Prize for non-fiction, and I must remind myself of that when I'm looking at library reservations. So this is not the fiction prize. So with the fiction prize, which I've booked off 2 days so that I can react to the fiction prize and then get my hands on some of the books and start reading them instantly and vlog it. So that's very exciting. But with the non-fiction prize is that my reading doesn't lend for me sort of ploughing my way through loads and loads of non-fiction books, because I don't think, for me, I can't plough through and I can't read a non-fiction book at the speed of which I would read a fiction book, because I need to process a lot of stuff that's going on in that non-fiction book. And when I tried to read a lot of these last year, when the non-fiction prizes came out, it ended up with me reading a lot of books that I didn't really like about subjects I wasn't really interested in. So I guess I need to have a think about that, because I'm not going to be interested in all of the books on this long list in the way that with the fiction long list I'd be like, yeah, I definitely want to read all of those, because I've just seen Tara said that that they listen to non-fiction on Audible. Yeah, well, that's also what, like, I like to listen to non-fiction on audio as well. So I've got one Audible credit spare and waiting for this very moment, and I've got a few hours left of my Spotify account once I've finished listening to Margot's Got Money Troubles, and I've got 5 library reservations, because my library reservations cost £1.10 now. So I sort of given myself maybe like permission, I guess, to try and read 6 of these books, 6 or 7, because I think for me, as the reader that I am, to try and read the whole long list would be daft. And it would also mean that, so something that happened last year was that I just went and put like reservations on loads of stuff, like basically all of it, thinking, oh, I'd like all of it, and put like reservations on audiobooks and stuff like that. That's annoying that I can't look at my audiobooks, because I've got 2 audiobook apps that are library based and I won't be able to look at them because my phone, I'm recording on my phone. And I ended up like not reading a lot of those books. In particular, there was one by an author and it was about like Tudor queens, and I probably would have quite enjoyed that, but because I got loads of other stuff out, I just didn't have the time to do it. So I think I need to tailor what I'm potentially going to be wanting to put reservations on and listen to, because also the time scale between this and then March, aka the best reading month of the year, is very short. So we've got in March, I like to spend the first half of the month doing the Irish Readathon, and then when the Women's Prize gets announced, I like to read my Irish women's books that are doubling up, that I can read for the Irish Readathon and have been longlisted, and then spend the rest of the month reading Women's Prize for fiction books. So yeah, I've only got the rest of February really, and then maybe I'll pick up again once I've done a few of the fiction books. But for non-fiction to work for me, I guess it needs to be something that I've got an interest in, or it needs to be super accessible, and I mean like super accessible. But if I give you an idea of some of the topics that I'm interested in, so if any of these sort of books appear on the list, it's going to be very exciting. So food, love food, gender studies, nature writing, books about community or indeed communities, Tudor history, women in history, books about books I'm very excited about, women's health, and then memoirs I'm quite into as well. So yeah, I haven't done a big prediction video for this or even made a prediction list, but I have got 4 that I think maybe appearing. The first one is, and I don't know if this even qualifies, I'm not quite sure of what the timescale was, and then I didn't want to look into it today because I was like, if I look for things to do with the Women's Prize today, I'm going to find out what the Women's Prize is. But there's a book by Deepa Paul called Ask Me How It Works, which is out next month, and it's about a throuple and how that might work. And I'm very excited about that, so that'd be lovely if that was longlisted. Raising Hair by Chloe Dalton. I'd be excited if that was longlisted as well because it's nature writing. And I've got a reservation on that on my library account for the audiobook, and I get that on the 17th of March. An African History of Africa would be interesting to me because it's the history told from that country as well. So, and I also think that might be on there. And then Sarah Moss's memoir, which I'll be reading regardless, because it's one called My Good Bright Wolf. I'm second in line at the library for that, so I won't be getting that anytime soon, but I'll definitely be reading that. Sarah Moss's other memoir, called Strangers in Iceland, Names for the Sea, is a book about her and her family relocating to Iceland for a few years for her job. It's one of my favourite books ever, and I reread it like all the time. Probably more than I should be rereading like that book, but yeah, I really love it. So I imagine I'm going to really like that. However, there are trigger warnings in that book, I believe, for eating disorders. So yeah, so those are 4 that may well be on there. I mean, that's more of a sort of wish list of what would be on there. But I guess we're going to move on to the long list now. So I'm going to watch the video that is on the YouTube channel, and I'll play it aloud so that we can discover it together. I'm going to write them all down as we're going through, and then I'm going to read all about them, and then I'm going to consider my library reservations, my Audible credit and Spotify hours that I've left. Like I said, I've already got a reservation on Raising Hair, so if that's on there, that's already accounted for. So yeah. So I think we'll do that. So I can rip my bit of this off. So I'm going to watch the full screen. There we go. That was a technicality. And then we're going on to the Women's Prize. I'm going to make it loud so we can hear it together. Oh, no, because you can hear me. We don't want to hear me. I'm going to turn that off. So here we go. Announcing the 2025 Women's Prize for non-fiction.
Hello, I'm Kavita Puri. And as this year's chair of judges, I'm thrilled to welcome you to the announcement of the 2025 Women's Prize for Non-Fiction Longlist.
Here we go. Here we go. It's exciting. Oh, she's writing.
Autocracy Inc.
Autocracy
Dictators Who
Inc.
Want to Run the World, Anne Applebaum. This is a really
By
important
Anne
book
Applebaum.
that explains the world we live in today and how liberal democracy
Is it
is
in
currently
alphabetical
under threat.
order?
The Eagle and the Heart.
The Eagle and the
Tragedy
Heart.
of Richard II and Henry IV, Helen Castor. This book is a timely study of political power, focused on
The
Kings
Eagle and the
Richard
Heart.
II and Henry IV.
Didn't get the
who
author
were
of that,
vividly
but
brought to
we'll
life in
see.
astonishing detail. Embers of the Hands.
Embers of the
Hidden
Hands.
Histories of the Viking Age. Eleanor Barraclough. This is an accessible gateway
Hands
into
by
this period of
Eleanor
time. It's got great
Barraclough.
storytelling, it's told with extreme authority, and it's extremely readable. This
I've
book
just written
has an
Barraclough.
exciting new talent.
1,000 Threads, Nana Cherry.
Oh, I do want to watch this.
Portraits of
1,000
life
Threads by
fully
Nana Cherry.
creatively. Not just a personal history, but a glimpse into different music and performance.
The Story of a Heart, Rachel Clark.
The Story of a Heart by
I
Rachel
absolutely love this
Clark.
book. It tells how one family, in the midst of their grief, gives the heart of their child so that another human being can survive. It was written with such compassion and is storytelling at its best.
Raising Hair.
Raising
A
Hair!
charming and beguiling book that captures the unusual relationship between
Claire
Walter
Dalton.
and the leveret that she rescues.
Outlin, Jen
Oh,
Smith.
Outlin! Oh, that's
This
exciting
book
to me.
is moving, enlightening, and at times harrowing, and it's a read about growing up in a broken UK care system. It's a memoir.
I've read
but it's
another book by
written like
Jennifer Egan.
poetry, and I loved it.
Why Fish Don't Exist.
Why Fish
A
Don't
story of
Exist.
Loss, love, and the
by
hidden
Lulu
water
Miller.
of life. Lulu Miller. A book that defies category, combining as it does a personal voyage of discovery with the taxonomy of fish.
I can't remember the...
Agent Zoe.
Agent
the untold
Zoe.
story of fearless World War II resistance fighter Elżbieta Zawadzka. Claire Mully.
By Claire
This is
Mully.
a masterclass of biographical writing. A gripping read, well researched, about a woman we should know about.
By the Fire We Carry.
By the Fire We
generation's
Carry.
long fight for justice on native land.
By Rebecca Nagle.
An eye-opening read. The book delves deep into a court case that reveals the forced
I forgot that
removal
person's
of
right.
Native
Rebecca
Americans
Nagle.
onto treaty lands in the nation's earliest years.
Wild Thing, A Life of Paul
Wild-
Gauguin, Sue Prideaux. This deep dives into
Wild
a phenomenal
Thing.
and unique artistic career. I read this book in a day. The pages come alive with colour
Paul-
and
I've
magic,
forgotten the last
and
name of
it's
that
incredible
person.
storytelling.
What the Wild Sea Can Be.
What the Wild
Future of
Sea
the
Can
World's
Be.
Ocean. Helen Scales. A widely researched, deeply resonant account of our threatened oceans, which strikes a helpful balance
I didn't
between
see the
hope
author of that
and
one.
pragmatism.
The Peep Show.
The
Murders
Peep
in
Show.
10 Rillington Place. Kate Summerscale. This is how history
By
should
Kate
be written.
Summerscale.
It's evocative, carefully researched, and hard to put down.
All of these look like
Fighting
Oh.
for justice in a system designed by men.
Sister-in-Law by Harriet Wistrich.
This is both a harrowing and hopeful account of Wistrich's battles to fight injustice against women in the legal system.
Tracker, Alexis Wright.
Tracker by
explores
Alexis
new
Wright.
ways to write biography, challenging the expectations of the form, whilst giving a unique glimpse into the life of someone from the stolen generation.
Private Revolutions.
Private
Coming of age in
Revolutions.
a New China, Yuan Yang.
By Yuan Yuan.
This is a powerful and intimate portrait of life in modern China, told through the stories of 4 young women.
We so enjoyed reading these new
Oh, there we
additions
go.
to the Women's Prize Library. It was tough getting down to the long list.
There we go. Let's have a look. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So, and I mean, I'm pretty impressed that I got one of the, I got Raising Hair. So none of the other 3 I mentioned. So yeah, interesting. Let's have a little look. So, Charlie, who I consider to be an expert on the women's prizes, has said, I was giddy when I saw Raising Hair got listed. It was one of my favourites of the year last year. The audiobook is narrated by Louise Brealey, which just makes it even more special. Oh, lovely. I've listened to an audiobook narrated by Louise Brealey already this year, I think. Was it the end of last year? Yeah, and I've got the audiobook coming on the 17th, so that's very exciting. There we go. So, oh, because Tara said, I wonder if 1,000 Feasts would qualify. And then I said, oh, no, it's women only. No, Nigel Slater. Lovely stuff. Right, okay. So I think we'll maybe learn about these together. So now I know the long list. Has anyone followed the long list? Has anybody read any of the books on the long list? Is anyone excited? Have you just found out about it now? Or were you watching it this morning? Yeah, I mean, Charlie, you've read Raising Hair. Have you read any more? Hello, Johanna. So let me get up. So I got 3 emails today about the book. So I'm going to go on the Waterstones website because I find their blurbs are pretty cushy. And I'm also going to go on to I can go onto my library account as well. Cool. Right. So like I said, I've got 5 reservations to go on. And I've also got one Audible credit, and I've also going to have about 2 hours left this month of my Spotify hours, but that could roll over, so I could maybe come back to that later. And let's learn about them. So let's have a look. So Ariane, said, I read Autocracy Inc. last year. I'm excited for By the Fire We Carry. Pam says, I'm so pleased for Jenny Fagan. Her launch for Ootlin at the Edinburgh Festival was incredible. So I've read Panopticon by Jenny Fagan. Is that the same author? And another one I've read by her. And Charlie said, you're so lovely. I bought Ootlin this morning as I predicted that one, but not read anything else. Very exciting. Oh, you must be excited to go straight into it then. Emma said, just back from work, managed to take a sneak peek at the list earlier, but I don't know much about most of them. Same. Lee said, I was confused that Tracker was on the list as it won the Stella Prize in 2018. I can't believe it's only now published in the UK. Alexis Wright is an iconic Indigenous Australian author. That's very exciting. Belle said, I got overexcited and reserved everything my library had. Now they're all probably going to come in at once. So yeah, the other thing is that I've currently got 8 reservations on at the library. And I mean, all of them I'm sort of like, well, there's only one I'm first at. A lot of them haven't been ordered. So I've got a reservation on The House of Broken Bricks, The Sirens, My Good Bright Wolf, Victorian Psycho, The City Changes Its Face, Under the Eye of Big Bird, Blob a Love Story, and The Dream Hotel. So yeah, so there's going to be a lot of, and I have to pay £1.10 for these reservations. So like, I like to know that I'm going to read them if they're coming in. Right, well, let's start with Autocracy Inc. and see what that's about. I've just seen that Jamie Oliver's got a big, that's the first thing on the Waterstones page, is that Jamie Oliver's got a new air fryer book out. Autocracy Inc. Oh, there's nothing on there because I can't spell autocracy, that's why. Okay, Autocracy Inc. by Anne Applebaum, only out in hardback, says, all of us have in our minds a cartoon image of what an autocratic state looks like, with a bad man at the top. But in the 21st century, that cartoon bears little resemblance to reality. Nowadays, autocracy are run not by one bad guy, but by sophisticated networks composed of kleptocratic financial structures, security services, and professional propagandists. The members of these networks are connected not only within a given country, but also many countries. but also among many countries. The corrupt state-controlled companies in one dictatorship do business with corrupt state-controlled companies in another. The police in one country can arm, equip and train the police in another. The propagandists share resources. The troll farms that promote one dictator's propaganda can also be used to promote the propaganda of another. And the themes pound in home the same messages about the weakness and democracy and the evil of America. Unlike military or political alliances from other times and places, this group doesn't operate like a bloc, but rather like an agglomeration of companies, Autocracy Inc. Their relations are not based on values, but are rather transactional, which is why they operate so easily across ideological, geographical and cultural lines. In truth, they are in full agreement about one thing: their dislike of us, the inhabitants of the democratic world, and their desire to see both our political systems and our values undermined. That shared understanding of the world, where it comes from, why it lasts, how it works, and how the democratic world has unwittingly helped to consolidate it, and how we can bring it down, is the subject of this book. Right, I've just seen that somebody has said, that does not sound like a Laura book. And you're absolutely right. The blurb itself was too long. So if I'm bored by the end of the blurb, then I'm not going to enjoy the book. And yeah, I don't feel like I need to read a book about the bad men that are running this world. I already know what's going on. Emma's put head explodes. I feel the same. So there we go. On the flip side, though, Pam has just bought Jamie's air fry book. So there we go. So we're not going to go. I'm not putting a reservation on Autocracy Inc. That is fine. And I've just seen that Amanda is currently reading Victoria's Psycho and loving it. And Joanna says it doesn't sound like a me book either. Right, okay, so let's go to the next one on the list, which I didn't get the author for. It's The Eagle and the Heart. And it is about, it looked to me like it was about Tudor history. So, oh, it's not coming up. Is it not out yet? The Eagle and the Heart. It's definitely called The Eagle and the Heart. I didn't see who it was by. Let me have a look at my emails that I've had. Women's Prize for Non-Fiction Longlist. The Eagle and the Heart is spelt differently. God, you'd think Heart is spelt H-A-R-T. There we go. By Helen Caster. God, it's 30 quid. My God. Right. It is called The Tragedy of Richard II and Henry IV. So we're not in Tudor times at all. Okay, another really fucking long blurb. So here we go. If ever a book of history was blessed with contemporary relevance, this one is. The dumbfounding, delusional, narcissistic King Richard, the white-knuckle ride of Henry IV, dogged all the way by notions of illegitimacy. I feel these men could have been ripped from today's headlines. The book's great achievement is in the storytelling, the unfolding drama, the secrets of power and ambition so beautifully controlled in the telling. The Eagle and the Heart will be a non-fiction book of the year and will deserve the ovations it is certain to receive. When history is this gripping, there's nothing like it. Right, sadly, that was a quote by Andrew O'Hagan, so I've just listened to what a man thinks about that book. So let's hear the blurb now. Here we go. Oh, God, the blurb is so long, guys. The author of She-Wolves chronicles the lives and reigns of Richard II and Henry IV, two cousins whose rivalry brought their nation to the brink of disintegration and back again. Richard of Bordeaux and Henry Bolingbroke were first cousins, born just 3 months apart. Their lives were from the beginning entwined. When they were still children, Richard was crowned King Richard II with Henry at his side, carrying the sword of state, a 10-year-old lord in the service of his 10-year-old king. Yet, as the animals on their heraldic badges showed, they grew up to be opposites. Richard was a white hart, a thin-skinned narcissist, and Henry the Eagle, a chivalric hero, a leader who inspired loyalty where Richard inspired only fear. Henry had all the qualities Richard lacked, all the qualities a sovereign needed, bar one, birthright. Increasingly threatened by his charismatic cousin, Richard became consumed by the need for total power in a time of constant conflict, rebellions and reprisals. When he banished Henry into exile, the stage was set for his final confrontation as the heart became the tyrant and the eager his usurper. Helen Caster tells this story of one of the strangest and most fateful relationships in English history. It's a story about power and masculinity in crisis and a nation brought to the brink of catastrophe. At its heart, it is a story of two men whose lives were played out in extraordinary parallel to devastating effect. Okay. I feel medium about it. I'm not thinking, yes, get me a fucking reservation on that. So I think I'm going to put... So I'm gonna put a little question mark next to that one, because if I haven't put 5 requests on, then I'll go back and put a request on that. But does that sing to anybody here? Natalie is saying Waterstones is so bad at showing results if you misspell something or slightly misremember a title. It's one of my pet peeves. That is also one of my pet peeves. Pam saying I love Helen Caster, books and documentaries. She's a great storyteller, historian. So Emma's saying, I quite like the sound of this one, but it's very expensive. The ebook is £20. Yeah, I've just on Waterstones. It's 30 quid for the bloody hardback. I mean, yeah. So we shall see. We'll consider that. But let's go to the next one, which is Embers of the Hands, and this is about Embers of the Hands. This is about Viking history, and I used to be quite into Viking history. This is by Eleanor Barraclough. 25 fucking quid online, guys. 25 quid. Use your libraries. It's time to meet the real Vikings. A comb preserved in a bog, engraved with the earliest traces of a new writing system, a pagan shrine deep beneath a lava field, a note from an angry wife to her husband too long at the tavern, doodles on birch bark made by an imaginative child. From these tiny embers, Eleanor Barraclough blows back to life the vast, rich and complex world of the Vikings. They're not just the stories of kings, raiders and saga heroes. They're the lives of ordinary people, the merchants, children, artisans, enslaved people, seers, travellers and storytellers who shaped the medieval Nordic world. Immerse yourself in the day-to-day lives of an extraordinary culture that spans centuries and spread from its Scandinavian heartlands to the remote fjords of Greenland, the Arctic wastelands, the waterways and steppes of Eurasia, and all the way to the Byzantine Empire and Islamic Caliphate. Now, I've got to say, this does sound a bit more up my street. When I was younger, and the sort of like early days of history, if you're from the UK, you probably did a lot on like Anglo-Saxons and like maybe Viking invasions and stuff. So this sort of does speak to like what I learned about Vikings and that sort of thing when I was a child. Yeah, I think that might be another maybe. It's not me sort of like going for it, but I think that might be another maybe. Because as I was reading through, there was ones that I was like, yes. But that's another maybe. But let's see, does Embers of the Hands scream to any of you guys? Chris has said the Caster book is excellent, and that the judges chose very expensive books this time. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's something to do with like non-fiction. Like none of these, I don't think any of these look like, oh, maybe the one at the end by Tracker, that looked like it was a paperback, but I think all of them look like hardback. Pam is saying I've got the hardback, but she's a fave of mine. I don't know if Pam means this one or the first one. A lot of these books are on Zigzag. And Pam says, my colleague used to jokingly call me a Viking, and my sister looked into our family history, and he was probably right. Robin said this one's included in Spotify Premium, if that helps. So that's Embers of the Hands. Barbara says, hi, I'm late. I've already seen the long list and heard of exactly one book. But since I'm not sure what you've already talked about, I'll not say which. I'll go back later. So we've actually had a look at the whole list, Barbara, and I've written it down. But we are only 3 down. So we are... Oh, they were done in alphabetical order, you know. So we've just finished talking about Embers of the Hands by... Well, we're talking about Embers of the Hands now. And Charlie says, I think there's only 3 on Everend at the moment by The Fire We Carry, Tracker and Why Fish Don't Exist. Luna's saying this one doesn't scream. So yeah, I've put a question mark on this one as well. This one has more of a question mark than the Eagle and the Heart. This one, this is going to go before that one if I've got a sparesies at the end. Right, the next one is 1,000 Threads. And I definitely want this one. So this is very exciting. So this is by Naina Cherry and it's a memoir. And Naina Cherry is a musician from the UK, and she is a good friend of Andy Oliver, who's a chef and a TV presenter in the UK who I bloody love. And I've heard a little bit about this book because I listened to a podcast that Andy Oliver's daughter, Makita, hosts with Lily Allen, and they've talked a little about the book on there. And yeah, I am really excited about this. So, a deeply personal and powerful memoir from beloved music icon Naina Cherry. Top of the Pops, December 1988. The world sat up as a young woman made her debut. Gold bra, gold bomber jacket, and proudly, gloriously 7 months pregnant. This was no ordinary artist. This was Naina Cherry. But navigating fame and family wasn't always simple. In this beautiful and deeply personal memoir, Cherry remembers the collaborations, the highs and lows, the friendships and loves, and the addictions and traumas that have shaped her as a woman and an artist. At the heart of it always is family, the extraordinary 3 generations of artists and musicians that are her inheritance and her legacy. 1,000 Threads is a kaleidoscopic story. It celebrates the power of love and the joy of creativity. Above all, it is a call to arms, to own your journey, and always take a stance. Right. She wants a reservation on that, so here we go. 1,000 Threads. If anyone else has been on the old Kent libraries, you might be ahead of me. Right, there's 4 copies and 2 reservations, so I am going to be there. Let's just have a look if they're actually here yet. Oh, they aren't available. There we go, right, she's putting a reservation on it straight away. So that's my first reservation on 1,000 Threads. I'm not going to use my Audible on that because I've got plans for what I'm going to use my Audible one for. There we go, 1,000 Threads, I'm first. So that one might even come in soon. There we go. Right, anybody excited about 1,000 Threads? So Chris says the Nana Cherry will be the easiest to find. There we go. So yeah, I've just, there was 4 copies of it in my county library and 2 reservations. Do you mind if I just close my windows, because the lights are on in here and it's dark outside and people could just be peeping at me. Around the other side. There we go. Okay, let's have a look. So Luna saying definitely love Eagle Eye Cherry is the band, and Joe says yep, just reserved it from my library too. So there we go. So my first reservation has gone on 1,000 Threads by Nana Cherry. The next one is The Story of a Heart by Rachel Clark. This front cover looked familiar to me. Here we go, 18.99, hardback. Here we go. Came out in September. Here we go. The first of our organs to form, the last to die. The heart is both I do remember this. The heart is both a simple pump and a symbol of all that makes us human, as long as it continues to beat, we hope. One summer day, 9-year-old Kira suffered catastrophic injuries in a car accident. Though her brain and the rest of her body began to shut down, her heart continued to beat. In an act of extraordinary generosity, Kira's parents and siblings agreed that she would have wanted to be an organ donor. Meanwhile, 9-year-old Max had been hospitalised for nearly a year with a virus that was causing his young heart to fail. When Max's parents received the call that they'd been hoping for, they knew it came at a terrible cost to another family. God, this is making me feel like sad just reading it. This is the unforgettable story of how one family's grief transformed into a life-saving gift. With tremendous compassion and clarity, Dr. Rachel Clark relates the urgent journey of Kira's heart and explores the history of the remarkable medical innovations that made it possible, stretching back over a century and involving the knowledge and dedication not just of surgeons but of countless physicians, immunologists, nurses and scientists. The Story of a Heart is a testament to compassion for the dying, the many ways we honour our loved ones and the tenacity of love. Well, it sounds really fucking hard to read, but I do sort of want to put a reservation on it. There we go. So Joe's crying too. So Joe said, my goodness, I have tears just hearing you read the blurb. I don't know if I could manage that one. That is how I feel, Joe. That is how I feel. And I've really doubled down on like being able to, my tolerance for like sad stuff, which I know isn't like always the best way to be, but sometimes I think you have to protect yourself a little bit. Chris is saying the Clark book is brilliant, but have tissues. Yeah. Do I want to put a reservation on that? We'll have a little snifter at it in the library. Story of a Heart. And just see how... I mean, some of these I might be able to get access to on my library for as in like audiobook. They haven't got it. So they've only got... Oh no, there it is down there. 17 copies and 8 reserves. Oh, I don't know if I can handle it. I don't think I can handle it, guys. I think I might give it... Yeah, I think I'm going to leave it. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave it. I don't know if I can handle it. So I'll put a very small cross there because that's me not being able to handle it, not a reflection on how brilliant I think that book probably would be. Emma's saying, the same sounds amazing, but I don't think I could read it right now. What's the TMR? We've just talked about The Story of the Heart by Rachel Clark. Amanda says, I just watched a movie from 2019 called Our Friend and sobbed. I guess that's similar. Yeah, I think I'm going to swerve that one for Mo. Right, the next one is Raising Hair, which I've got a reservation on the audiobook of it, and that will be coming in on the 17th of March. Maybe before, if someone hands it back, so maybe before. So yeah, so I will be reading this, but this doesn't count in any of my... so this doesn't count. So I can have this, because I already had a reservation on this one, so it doesn't count. Imagine you could hold a baby hare and bottle feed it. Imagine that it lived under your roof and lolloped around your bedroom at night, drumming on the duvet cover when it wanted your attention. Imagine that over 2 years later, it still ran in from the fields when you called it and snoozed in your house for hours on end and gave birth to leverets in your study. This happened to me. When lockdown led busy professional Chloe to leave the city and return to the countryside of her childhood, she never expected to find herself custodian of a newly born hare. Yet when she finds the creature abandoned, alone, and no bigger than her palm, she is compelled to give it a chance at survival. Raising Hare chronicles their journey together and the challenges of caring for the leveret and preparing it for its return to the wild. We witness firsthand an extraordinary relationship between human and animal, reconnecting with our childhood enthusiasm for wildlife. This improbable bond of trust serves to remind us that the most beautiful experiences inspiring the most hope arise when we least expect them. Yeah, I'm absolutely delighted. I've already got a reservation on that. It sounds like it's going to be top. And it was Charlie's favourite book. So, yeah, that sounds great. Belle said, I picked this up the other day, but read the blurb and put it back. Couldn't handle it. I think we're talking about Story of the Heart there. Amanda says, I try to make friends with all the bunnies in my yard. I'll have to request this one. So is anybody else thinking, yeah, Raising Hare sounds like it is for me? And Luna said, I'd probably cry with this one. Jennifer says, sounds like a David book. Yeah, absolutely. It does actually, Jennifer. You maybe know him better than I do. So yeah, I will see how I get on with the audiobook. He was actually saying he wants a new audiobook to go walking to in the morning. So maybe he needs to put a reservation on this as well. But yeah, so I already had a reservation on that one. So it doesn't count towards my intake, if you like. But yeah, let's move on to, so Ootlin by Jenny Fagan is the next one, and this is the one that I'm going to get on audio because I love Jenny Fagan's voice and I want her to read it to me. So this is out in paperback, in hardback, sorry. Is it out in paperback yet? No, it's out in hardback. It came out in October last year, and this is Jenny Fagan's memoir. So Jenny Fagan was the property of the state before birth. She drew her first breath in care, and by the age of 7, she had lived in 14 different homes and had changed names multiple times. 20 years after her first attempt to write this powerful memoir, Jenny is finally ready to share her account. Ootlin is a journey through the broken UK care system. It's one of displacement and exclusion, but also of the power of storytelling. It is about the very human act of making meaning from adversity. So yeah, I think it's going to be really, again, another hard read, but I think it's going to be great. But if you wouldn't mind me just going on to my Audible now, I'm going to place an order for it. So one moment. She needs to open another tab. But yeah, so let me know if any of you are planning on reading Ootlin by Jenny Fagan. Ootlin. Add to basket. It's 9 hours and 24 minutes, if you're wondering, guys. And I'm going to get that now. Ready to check out. Confirm order. Lovely stuff. Right, that's that done. So yeah, is anyone else planning on reading Ootlin? Joanna says, I'm here for Raising Hare. Chris says, I would need to know the hare survives before I start reading. Yeah, maybe I should look into that as well. Charlie says, the audiobook isn't narrated by... Oh, no! Okay, the audiobook isn't narrated by Jenny. It's narrated by Isis Hainsworth. Hopefully that will still be enjoyable for me because I've just bought it. So yeah, Sue says, hello, Sue. Says, hello everyone. Dear Lauren, could you please save and post this live show for us to watch later? I'm stuck in a meeting, would like to see your reaction later. Absolutely, it will be on my on the YouTube channel under live shows. So yeah, you can do that. Emma said, yes, I'm worried about the hair too. And Linda's just said, Ootlin's on Spotify. Well, that's a shame because I've just spent my credit on it. But I'm sure I will enjoy it very much. So there we go. Ootlin, she has bought. So there we go. She's got that. So that's 2 she's put on so far, 1,000 Threads and Ootlin, both memoirs. What the T Emma says, Raising Hare sounds lovely, going to reserve it. Charlie says, but it's still really well done that I can tell so far. I was typing as fast as possible when you said about buying it. I'm sorry, I'm slow. No, don't worry, Charlie. It's fine. Right, the next one was called Why Fish Don't Exist, and they said it was sort of genre defying. Why Fish Don't Exist by Lulu Miller in hardback. Came out on the 10th of October last year. A story of love, loss, love, and the hidden order of life. The quirky and profound international bestseller, a darkly astonishing scientific biography, and a guide on how to live well in a world where chaos came for us all. If fish don't exist, what else do we have wrong? As a child, Lulu Miller's scientist father taught her that chaos will come for us all. There is no cosmic destiny, no plan. Enter David Starr Jordan, 19th century taxonomist and believer in order, a fish specialist devoted to mapping out the great tree of life, who spent his days pinning down unruly fins, studying shimmering scales and sealing new discoveries into jars of ethanol. At a time when Lulu's life is unravelling, David Starr Jordan beckons. Reading about Jordan's sheer perseverance after an earthquake shattered his collection, Lulu stumbles upon an unexpected anecdote to life's unpredictability. This is awful, but I feel bored already. But lurking behind the lore of the mighty taxonomist lies a darker tale waiting to be told, one about the human cost of attempting to define the form of things unknown. This is a story unlike any you've ever read before. It's about a very tall man with a walrus moustache, the injustices and unexpected deliverances of the universe, love that strikes like lightning, and about why fish don't exist at all. Oh no, I didn't really want that. Linda saying, sorry, I wasn't quick enough either. No, I don't think Why Fish Don't Exist is for me. So there we go, a no. The next one is Agent Zoe by Claire Mulley. Now, when I heard because as I was writing it down, I could sort of hear what they were saying. I think Agent Zoe sounded like one I would be interested in. Let's have a look. Hardback. Came out in May last year. Surely it's out in paperback soon then. Paperback on the 20th of this month. Oh, maybe there'll be a reservation for a paperback one. I've learned how to beat the system though, because I like paperbacks. Right, okay. Here we go. This is the incredible story of Elizabeta Zawaka, the World War II resistance fighter known as Zoe, the only woman to reach London from Warsaw during the Second World War as an emissary of the Polish Home Army Command. Zoe undertook 2 missions in the capital before secret SOE training in the British countryside. As the only female member of the Polish elite special forces, the SOE-affiliated Silent Unseen, Zoe became the only woman to parachute from Britain to Nazi German-occupied Poland. There, whilst being hunted by the Gestapo, who arrested her entire family, she took a leading role in the Warsaw Uprising and the liberation of Poland. After the war, she was demobbed as one of the most highly decorated women in Polish history. Yet the Soviet-backed post-war communist regime not only imprisoned her, but also ensured that her remarkable story remained hidden for over 40 years. Now, through new archival research and exclusive interviews with people who knew and fought alongside Zoe, Claire Mulley brings this forgotten heroine back to life and also transforms how we see the history of women's agency in the Second World War. Women in history. I'm interested. However, I want it to be the paperback. So let me see if they've got the paperback. If not, I'm going to wait. And Agent Zoe. I'm going to wait and I will maybe buy it. Yeah, so at the moment, they've only got the hardback. No reservations on this at all. Yeah, I'm going to wait a little bit on that one and put a reservation on the paperback. That's what I'm going to do. Anyone interested in Agent Zoe? So I'm putting wait for He-back, because that's only out next month. But that sounds great. Here we go. Chris says Agent Zoe book sounds more like a fiction book. It does. Gail says Agent Zoe sounds fab. What a courageous woman she must have been. Amanda says sounds good, but I need a break from World War II books. And Luna says that sounds incredible. Yes, totally interested. And Emma says sounds more up my street. So yeah, I'm going to wait for it to come out in paperback. I may even end up buying it, but I'm going to wait for it to come out in paperback, see if I can get a reservation on it at the library then. So yeah, so that doesn't count for now either. So I've still got 3 reservations. Oh no, 4 reservations for the library. And I've wasted my Audible credit, so that's fine. Not wasted, I've used it. Right, the next one is By the Fire We Carry, which a lot of you were saying you were excited about, but I can't remember anything that anyone said when it was on. By the Fire We Carry by Rebecca Nagel, which came out in September. The generations-long fight for justice on native land. Here we go. Long blurb, guys. A powerful work of reportage and American history that braids together the story of the forced removal of Native Americans onto treaty lands in the nation's earliest days and a small-town murder in the 1990s that led to a Supreme Court ruling reaffirming native rights to that land more than a century later. Before 2020, American Indian reservations made up roughly 55 million acres of land in the United States. By contrast, nearly 200 million acres are reserved for national forests. In the emergence of the United States as a nation, the government set aside more land for trees than for indigenous people. In the 1830s, Muscogee people were rounded up by the US military at gunpoint and forced into exile halfway across the continent. At the time, they were promised this new land would be theirs for as long as the grass grew and the waters ran, but that promise was not kept. When Oklahoma was created on top of Muscogee land, the new state claimed the reservation was no longer existed. Over a century later, a Muscogee citizen was sentenced to death for murdering another Muscogee citizen on tribal land. His defense attorneys argued that the murder occurred on the reservation of his tribe and therefore Oklahoma didn't have the jurisdiction to execute him. Oklahoma asserted that the reservation no longer existed. In the summer of 2020, the Supreme Court settled its dispute. Its ruling would ultimately underpin multiple reservations covering almost half the land in Oklahoma, including the author's own Cherokee Nation. Here, Rebecca Nagle recounts the generations-long fight for tribal land and sovereignty in eastern Oklahoma. By chronicling both the contemporary legal battle and the historic acts of Indigenous resistance, By the Fire We Carry stands as a landmark work of American history. Yeah, so I'm going to put a reservation on that. Like I said, community and communities is something that I like to read about, and I also like books that By the Fire. Oh no, I don't think we got it. I don't think it's in my library. That's so unusual. My library is... No, they don't have it. Okay. That's really unusual. Okay, maybe it'll be on Spotify. I like books about community, and I also like books that are about a certain thing and then told through another thing. So hearing about this murder and how that brought maybe the Indigenous people to the forefront of people's sort of minds because of that, what was going on. Yeah, that's such a shame my bloody library doesn't have it. I think there's a way I can ask my library to order something, but that is not for now, that is for a bit later. So yeah, okay. So that one's got a little star next to it because I want it. Let's have a look and see what people said. So Barbara Smith says, Rebecca Nagle did a podcast called This Land a few years ago. I highly recommend. Bought By the Fire We Carry on Libro a few months ago, but haven't listened to it yet. Might have to prioritise. Catherine says Agent Zoe sounds good. More drawn to books about women. Shame too many of these books are now about a male topic for me. Luna said, I'd like to read it, but I know I'll find myself getting angry with the injustice of it all. Barbara says, not by her and not related to the prize, but also highly recommend Killers of the Flower Moon by David Gran. Chris says, By the Fire We Carry is a fabulous book, but another tough read. Consider what's going on with the US. Absolutely. Right, okay. So that's two that I want, but I'm waiting for. So there we go. So we've still got 4 reservations to go, guys. The next thing is Wild Thing. Right, okay. So here we go. So this one is Wild Thing, A Life of Paul, and then I didn't hear what the actual person was called. The Life of Paul Gagwin. So there was a similar book on it last year, a similar book to this on the long list last year, which was about a musician or an artist. I didn't know the musician or the artist, I can't even remember it, but I listened to the audiobook because it was on the long list and I wanted to get involved. And I did not have a good time reading it. So I think this isn't for me. I'll read the blurb because it will well be for some people. Already I feel like interested because it's saying gorgeously illustrated with 70 colour images. Lovely. That means it will be expensive. It's £30. Paul Gauguin is chiefly known as the giant of post-impressionist painting whose bold colours and compositions rocked the Western art world. It is less well known that he was a stockbroker in Paris and that after the 1882 financial crash, he struggled to sustain his artistry and worked as a tarpaulin salesman in Copenhagen, a canal digger in Panama City, and a journalist exposing the injustices of French colonial rule in Tahiti. In Wild Thing, the award-winning biographer Sue Perdue re-examines the adventurous and complicated life of the artist. She illuminates the people, places and ideas that shaped his vision, his privileged upbringing in Peru and rebellious youth in France, the galvanising energy of the Paris art scene, meeting Met, the woman he would marry, formative encounters with Vincent van Gogh and August Strindberg, and the ceaseless draw of French Polynesia. Perdue conjures Gauguin's visual exuberance, his creative epiphanies, his fierce words and his flaws with acuity and sensitivity. Drawn from a wealth of new material and access to the artist's family, this myth-busting work invites us to see Gauguin anew. So yeah, that is not for me, but it may well be for other people. So if it's for you, then do say. Linda's saying your library might buy it in when it's out in paperback, maybe. And Belle saying my library didn't have it either, so I'll put in a purchase request. I've not done that before, but I will do that. So that is for By the Fire We Carry. Charlie saying super too, thank you. The Gauguin book is gorgeous to look at. I was gifted the book, but I have not read it, says Chris. So that one's not for me. The next one is about the ocean. So this one probably is for me. This is What the Wild Sea Can Be. What the Wild Sea Can Be. This is by Helen Scales, out in Harback. Came out in June last year. No matter where we live, we are all ocean people, Helen Scales observes in her bracing yet hopeful exploration of the future of the ocean. Beginning with its fascinating deep history, Scales links past to present to show how prehistoric ocean ecology holds lessons for the oceans of today. In elegant, evocative prose, she takes us into the realms of animals that epitomise current increasingly challenging conditions, from emperor penguins to sharks and orcas. Yet despite these threats, many hopeful signs remain in the form of highly protective reserves, the regeneration of seagrass meadows and giant kelp forests, and efforts to protect coral reefs. Offering innovative ideas for protecting coastlines and cleaning the toxic sea, Scales insists we need more ethical and sustainable fisheries and must protect the other existential threat of deep sea mining. Inspiring us all to maintain a sense of awe and wonder at the majesty beneath the waves, she urges us to fight for a better future that still exists for the ocean. Yeah, I'm going to get that one. If it's there. My library's normally very, very well equipped, so the fact that it doesn't have that By the Fire We Carry, I'm in shock about it. What the Wild Sea Can Be. The Future of the World's Oceans. There we go. This has got 11 copies and 1 reserve. Oh, they're all on order. That's why. So that's going to be a while. Oh, that might be the paperback then. Oh, it's the hardback. Okay. She's putting a reservation on it. That does excite me. So there we go. So that's my second reservation going on. Lovely. Anyone excited about What the Wild Sea Can Be? Chris is saying Thunderclap was the book you were talking about from last year's list. That is exactly the book I was talking about. Thank you, Chris. And Charlie is saying I'm excited by the Helen Scales one. So there we go. Next up is The Peep Show. It had a longer title, but I didn't get to write that down. So let's have a look. I'm just aware it's 5:45 and I've got to eat my dinner and leave the choir by 6:30. Murders at 10 Rillingham Place. This came out in October last year. Here we go. London, 1953. Police discover the bodies of 3 young women hidden in a wall at 10 Rillington Place, a dingy terrace house in Notting Hill. On searching the building, they find another body beneath the floorboards, then an array of human bones in the garden. But they have already investigated a double murder at 10 Rillington Place 3 years ago, and the killer was hanged. Did they get the wrong man? A nationwide manhunt is launched for the tenant of the ground floor flat, a softly spoken former policeman named Reg Christie. Star reporter Harry Proctor chases after the scoop. Celebrated crime writer Fryn Tennyson Jesse begs to be assigned to the case. The story becomes an instant sensation, and with the relentless rise of the tabloid press, the public watches on like never before. Who is Christie? Why did he choose to kill women and to keep the bodies near him? As Harry and Fryn start to learn the full horror of what went on at Rillingham Place, they realise that Christie might also have engineered a terrible miscarriage of justice in plain sight. In this riveting true story, Kate Summerscale mines the archives to uncover the lives of Christie's victims, the tabloid frenzy that their deaths inspired, and the truth about what happened inside the house. Well, that sounds very good. That sounds The Peep Show. That sounds like a bloody Claire Chambers book. It sounds really, really good. So I'm going to pop a reservation on that one as well. Anybody interested? And also, I always, because books about murder particularly, but like sort of true crime books always make me feel a bit, but sort of unraveling and uncovering the lives of this person's victims feels like a very important thing to do. So yeah, I'm going to put a reservation on that one. So she's only got 2 reservations left, guys. There's 3 books left. And remember, there was those 2 that I liked before. Is anybody else interested in The Peep Show? The 10 Murders at Rillington. Oh, The Murders at 10 Rillington Place. Okay. Charlie has said The Peep Show is $1.99 on Kindle at the moment, and Emma has said The Peep Show is $1.99 on Kindle at the moment. I actually studied another book about Rillington Place at school, so I'm quite interested. Amanda said it's hard for me to read true crime without Googling what happened. Chris said, I've read The Peep Show. Chris, you've done very well with this long list. It's strong stuff that will infuriate you, but it's a first-rate book. Luna said, I love The Peep Show. Such a story, such a thorough researcher. That excites me. I already knew the story, so it was interesting to hear all the facts. There are 2 dramas about it too. Lovely. Amanda says, I'm for sure interested in that one. I think I'll use my audio. And Joe said, yep, Peep Show also reserved for me too. There we go. So we're into the last 3. Sister-in-Law by Harriet Wistrich. £22. Came out in May last year. For more than a quarter of a century, Harriet Wistrich has fought the corner of people from all walks of life let down by our justice system. When Sally Challen won her appeal to overturn her conviction for the murder of her coercively controlling husband, it was Harriet Wistrich at her side. When victims of taxi driver and serial rapist John Warboys successfully took the Metropolitan Police to court for their investigative failures, and then 4 years ago helped to hold the parole board for account for their decision to grant his early release from prison, the solicitor acting for them was Harriet Wistrich. It was Harriet who represented a pioneering group of women caught up in the Spy Cops scandal, women deceived in forming long-term relationships with men later to be undercover police officers embedded in their communities. In a remarkable legal career, Harriet has been at the forefront of some historic and groundbreaking legal victories, frequently working with women who have survived male violence or abuse, sometimes with the bereaved families of those who did not survive. Her work has led her to challenge the police, CPS, government departments, and the prison and immigration detention system. In Sister-in-Law, she tells the shocking stories of some of those who have come to her for assistance and shines a feminist light on the landscape and arcane laws and Byzantine systems skewed towards male behaviour and responses through which she has steered them. Litigation can be a long and rocky path of pitfalls and dead ends, and there are defeats as well as gains, hours of painstaking work as well as courtroom drama. It takes collaboration, extraordinary tenacity, and huge compassion, but Harriet Wistrich is proof that it is possible to demand better justice and to bring about important change. Bloody hell, makes me want to stand up on my fucking seat and shout. So when we went through that and I heard about that, I was like, oh no, not law, no, I don't want to hear anything about that. That sounds like it's going to be really dry, but no, that sounds bloody brilliant. That is getting 3 copies, 1 reserve. That's getting a reservation. That's getting my last reservation. Oh, there we go. That's my last reservation gone. Okay, we'll just learn about these last ones then. That's a shame because I was quite looking forward to private revolutions, but there we go. That's what happens. Maybe I'll have to have a look on Spotify for these things. You all right, David?
Yeah.
How's dinner looking?
Whenever you're ready.
Whenever I'm ready. I've got 2 more books to read, David.
Okay.
Here we go. Charlie says, Harriet Wistrich sounds like such an incredible woman. Chris says, I use NetGalley and many of these books showed up on NetGalley, so I was prepared for this list. I was determined to read the Women's Prize books on both lists before the long list were announced. Amazing. Emma says, Sister-in-Law sounds so good. My daughter is training to be a lawyer, so very interested in this one. Chris says, the Wistrich book was the only book I did not have, so I bought the ebook on Kobo. And Luna says, that's getting my reservation also in Kent. Luna, you and I were going to be racing each other. Okay, so the penultimate is Tracker by Alexis Wright. This is paperback, so however, it's £20 for a paperback. It's published by that lovely publisher who I've got a book and other stories. Oh, very short blurb. A larger-than-life champion of Aboriginal self-determination, Tracker Tilmouth was a whip-smart, irreverent, startling and deadly serious, famous for rattling the chains of Australian political life wherever he went. One day, he asked a novelist friend for help with his memoirs. Wright agreed, although she knew it would take a whole community... clicking a lot of the old buzzwords, isn't it? To do his life justice. Thousands of interviews hours later, the result was Tracker, a groundbreaking piece of creative oral history, a testament to the power of storytelling in contemporary Aboriginal life, and a living monument to a legendary warrior of conscience. I haven't got any reservations left. Oh no, I have got 1 reservation left because Ootlin was my... Yeah, I have got 1. Okay, well, let's see if they've got it first. Tracker by Alexis Wright. They haven't got it. They've got Praiseworthy, but they haven't got Alexis. They haven't got that. Okay, well, that sort of makes my decision up for me. Anybody else going to be putting a... I would like that. I might request that one as well. There we go. Kent lacking in stuff about Indigenous people, isn't it? That's a shame. And then the last one was Private Revolutions by Yang Yuan. Private Revolutions. How am I supposed to go to choir after this when all I want to do is read my books? By Yang Yuan. There we go. So this came out in May last year, so that must mean that the paperback's coming out soon. Oh, the paperback cover's lovely. Oh, it's not out until May this year. A year? Wow. Okay, Private Revolutions, Coming of Age in New China by Yang Yuan. This is a book about the coming of age of 4 women born in China in the 1980s and 1990s, dreaming of a better future. It's about Leia, who wants to escape the fate of women in her village. Still underage, she bluffs her way onto the factory floor. It's about June, who at 15 sets what her family thinks is an impossible goal, to attend university rather than raise pigs. This sounds brilliant. It's about Siu, ranked second to bottom of her English class, who decides to prove her teachers wrong. And it's about Sam, who becomes convinced that the only way to change her country is to become an activist, even as the authorities slowly take her peers from the street. With unprecedented access to the lives, hopes, homes, dreams and diaries of 4 ordinary women over a period of 6 years, Private Revolutions gives a voice to those whose stories go untold. At a time of rising state censorship and suppression, it unearths the identity of modern Chinese society and, through the telling, something of our own. That is getting the last Private Revolutions. The last, there we go, 3 copies. No reservations, Luna, I'm getting in there before you. All 3 are available. That'll be winging its way to me shortly. So there's one for you too, Luna, if you want it. There's someone watching my video, David, who's also reserving stuff from Kent Library, so we're having...
Oh, it's...
yeah.
Facebook.
Oh, it still says I'm second, so maybe Luna did get in before me. There we go. There we go. So, that's all the books. Anyone interested in Private Revolutions? Here we go. Ariane Fowler says, I'm interested in Tracker, but my library doesn't have it. Chris says, Tracker is on ebook, but there are also 2 versions of Tracker. I'm not sure which one it is. Maybe the non-Australian version is shorter. Emma says Private Revolution sounds good too. And it wasn't Luna. Luna's too slow. So there we go. So that was the 16 books that have been longlisted for the Women's Prize for Non-Fiction. I have put Library Reservations on 1,000 Threads by Nana Cherry, What the Wild Sea Can Be, The Peep Show, Sister-in-Law, and Private Revolutions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I already have the audiobook of Raising Hair coming in March, and I've bought Ootlin by Jenny Fagan on Audible. There's still 3 that I'm interested in. Agent Zoe by Claire Mully. I'm going to wait for the paperback of that. My library does have the hardback copy, but the paperback is out next month, so I'm going to put a reservation on the paperback when that comes out. And then 2 books that my library doesn't have, which are both about Indigenous people, are By the Fire We Carry by Rebecca Nally and Tracker by Alexis Wright, which I'm going to... There's a way that I have never done it before, but you can ask the library if they'll purchase a book. And I think the fact that they're about Indigenous people speaks for themselves, that they need to be bought, let alone the fact that they have been longlisted for the Women's Prize for Non-Fiction. So those are my books that I'm going to read. I'm very excited. I'm very excited. I've got a day off next week, so if one of them comes in by then maybe I'll just sit and devour it all day long. So we'll just have a look at the last comments because my pasta dinner is ready. Here we go. There we go. Peep Show, I'm off to reserve, says Johanna. Anybody else got somewhere that they're starting already? I know Charlie earlier said that she purchased Ootlin this morning, so maybe you're reading that already. Amanda wants to know what kind of pasta we're having. What is it, David? It's like a walnut pesto.
Walnut pesto with like tagliatelle.
And it's like kale or something with it.
Yeah.
It looks very nice. Yeah, and then we're off to choir. Luna says, enjoy your dinner and choir. Thanks so much. This has been, as always, a pleasure. As I said, we will be doing... I can't believe there's 111 people here now. As I said, I'll be doing a live show reaction to the Women's Prize for Fiction and planning on reading all of those books. I mean, there's 16 of them. It might be that I've read 1 or 2 on that list. I mean, last year I only predicted 1, so I haven't done any of that. So that may well happen. But yeah, there's going to be, when the Women's Prize for Fiction long list comes out next month, I'll be doing a live reaction to the long list and then reading as many, and then I'm going to do a vlog of how many books I can sort of read in those next 2 days with the Kindle, which is one of the reasons I got the Kindle, and audiobook credits and things like that. So there we go. Right, okay. Lovely to see you all. Hope you enjoyed this video on your Wednesday, and I'll see you all on Sunday for the Valentine's Friday reading vlog.